Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Project Vault. Now you may be asking, what is Project Vault, and why have I been alluding to this for like over a year? The original goal was to have an off-desk PC with massive amounts of storage and the ability to kind of render things out that I don't really want to run through Supernova. Things that take time, like running denoisers or, well, mainly denoisers, because they just take forever. Personally though, I've learned how to shoot at lower ISOs, and that actually has been helping a lot with the noise. In fact, I'm actually recording this at the lowest ISO I've ever recorded at 200 ISO. But I digress a little bit. We need a server in here, mainly because, well, I got a lot of footage. I've got a lot of footage, and I also have a lot of projects going on. I've mentioned to you guys that we have been trying to build a game studio, and this project is actually mainly in the interest of that game studio. You see, unfortunately, I generally don't work with a lot of people, but we have built a team to actually work on our current project for the video game studio. And that poses a problem. Normally, I just have all of the assets right on my hard drive, ready to go. But I need something that will allow people to get those assets and to implement them and to change them and to upload them all to us. Now we could be using something like a Google server, like one of their storage based solutions. But what's the fun in that? You know, we're very DIY. I've got great internet here. My peers in the UK might have some problems, but at least we can get something going. So that's what we're going to do. So out of necessity, we're gonna be recycling. In fact, we're recycling Gamerguts' old gaming PC, which is an FX processor with 4 cores and 8 threads. I know AMD says it's an 8-core, 8-thread processor, but I'm just gonna call it a 4-core, 4 or 8-thread processor. I'm just gonna call a spade at this point. There's no use in hiding it. And honestly, I'm interested to see how this is gonna go and whether or not I'm going to hate myself for attempting this on an FX processor. Hello and welcome. Honestly, this is gonna be an interesting one for me, at least. I've never done anything of this nature. In fact, I've never even attempted anything of this nature. I'm going to be building my first always on server. And personally, I've been doing research. I've been watching videos of people who've done this. And unfortunately, I just can't shake, you know, or shake a magic lamp. I can't just rub a magic lamp and have like Linus appear and be like, here's a storinator, which would be fairly useful. So I'm gonna end up having to make something much more pedestrian and much closer to something that you can personally make at home. This is our base. This is an old desktop computer. It's, as I said, running an FX processor. If you guys have recently upgraded to Ryzen, you might actually have one of these laying around. We've got a gigabyte motherboard of dubious quality. We've even got a graphics card in here that's actually not even really necessary. I don't even remember what that is. Does it say it anywhere? I'm actually curious. It's an Asus card, pretty old design. Got DVI. I do not know what you are. It doesn't matter. We got a graphics card in here and everything. We are going to be changing out the cooler though, because we've got an old 120 millimeter AIO in here. And by old, it's at least 3 years old, and it's starting to get to the end of life for this kind of a cooler. So personally, I'm going to be swapping that out with the Noctua Chromax NH-U12S, the all black version of Noctua's pretty much best cooler for small cases. And I honestly might be pushing the limit of what we can actually fit in this case, and I am a little concerned about that because I didn't realize how narrow this case is. This is actually a Corsair Carburide, I think, something like that. It's one of their more budget cases from a couple years ago. So yeah, Speaking of Corsair components though, we do have a Corsair power supply. Honestly, this is the only one I could get my hands on. I generally prefer to do all modular cables, but I mean, we get what we can take at this point. This is more than I would really need to get this project started, but we could upgrade into the second part of this project using this. So I'm not too bummed about that. We do have a Samsung SSD. Now I'm unfamiliar with how much storage is actually gonna be necessary to run Unraid, because I actually do wanna use Unraid in order to make sure that we can still kind of enter a Windows environment when necessary. And so I think I'm gonna need this for that, or I'm gonna need it for a caching drive, and I'm not 100% sure. That will be in part 2. And then I have two standard 400 terabytes, 40, not even 40. I have two 4 terabyte Seagate Barracuda hard drives. Now, I could have gone with Enterprise or NAS drives, but unfortunately, I'm looking at a $20 premium for the drives that I want, which are the Iron Wolf Pros. And personally, I would rather take my time and procure the right drives for the third or fourth part of this, which will be a bigger, better version of this, than to waste time waiting for them now. Not to mention, I would have done 3. I actually was intending to do 3 drives plus 1 redundancy. So it would have been 8 terabytes plus a 4 terabyte redundancy. But currently, there is a limit on how many hard drives you can purchase on Amazon, which means I am stuck to a 4 with 1 parity. And that's one of the reasons we're using Unraid, is I should be able to drop another 4 terabyte in as soon as the cooldown on the procurement process ticks through. So I should be able to get another 1 to 2 more drives, and I actually might do 2. Overlooking this case though, I do see one challenge. I don't know where the SSD is gonna go. I mean, I think it goes there on this case. And I don't have screws for this case because it's been a very long time since I've worked in it. So I am going to have my work cut out for me. I'm gonna be searching for things frantically, and you guys are gonna be here for the ride. So let's just go. Let's just get into it. Success! Well, sort of. I came very close to not being able to finish this build today, unfortunately. the EPS pin on this motherboard is in such a weird place that it's really hard to reach. Now, you would think with a case this size, that shouldn't be too much of a problem, but Corsair has a really short EPS cable on this power supply, and this case has it in such a, or this motherboard has it in such a weird place. I ended up having to route it through the case, which is not something I've had to do in a very long time. The side panel is on, but I came very, very, very close to not being able to put it on with this knock to a cooler. I did not check to see if it would fit. That would be my bad, but it fit. So that it worked out. So we've got a system here. It works. We posted it. And yeah, the next step is going to be to install some software on it to make it work like a server, which is going to be a journey for me. So I'm not going to partake in it tonight. So thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, you can leave a like, comment, subscribe. I honestly enjoyed a retro build like this. Cable management, not great, but as old as this case is, that's kind of expected. Surprisingly, there were actual mounting holes for SSDs, but I've used up all of my hard drive sleds in this case now. So yeah, I can't exactly expand the drives in this system now, can I? Motherboard, I mean, it was simple. Honestly, like, if you use a modern A-series motherboard, it looks actually very similar to that. Processor, literally, there's nothing too weird about the FX. It's the exact same. Noctua, I will give them credit for actually making a new cooler that fits on these old processors. So that I will give them credit for. And yeah, just overall, like, I mean, the build came out okay, but in a case this old, that's okay. It's okay for the build to come out okay, because I mean, yeah, honestly, it looks good, and I'm excited for the next step in the journey that is Project Vault. So you guys have seen Project Dolphin, and you've seen Project Vault, which nice. So yeah, thank you guys again. Wolfie out.